Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. If this is your spiritual home or you are seeking comfort and connection in uncertain times, we are so grateful that you are with us. We are an inclusive and welcoming community seeking truth and love and striving to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. Together, let us remember our kinship with one another, and may we hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. If you're participating from home, there are many links of connection in the description below of the YouTube live stream, including the order of service, credits, and ways to support our mission, and how to be added to our email newsletter. A few announcements. In consultation with the COVID task force that has been meeting all throughout the pandemic, we're making the following changes to our guidelines. Beginning this month for small groups and for rentals of our space, we're allowing masks to be optional. However, for small UCE groups, we ask that you establish consent before agreeing among yourselves that everyone is comfortable without masks. And if anyone isn't, please respect that and keep the masks on. We'll keep the mask mandate in place in our Sunday worship and faith formation hour at least through June 5th, our picnic, and then we'll reevaluate how things are going. After this service, there will be a brief kinship time from 11:15 to 11:35 at the back of the sanctuary, and enjoy coffee and conversation and snacks. And then our faith formation hour will include a listening circle with myself and maybe Kathy, but probably just me, right here in the sanctuary about our faith formation hour, this grand experiment that we've been in this year. So please join me for that. Forum meets in room 6 and on Zoom with Team 8 about our reparations proposal. And unfortunately, Olivia Bear, who is our storyteller slated for today, got sick and is unable to be here today. So we're still going to have activities in room 3 after the service with children from kindergarten through 6th grade. Junior and senior high, 7th through 12th grades meet in room 13, and nursery care is available for ages 0 through 3 now until 10:30. That's our announcements. Our opening reading today is a responsive reading. It is number 649 from our hymnal, but many of you don't have the hymnals. I just want to say, too, you're always welcome to grab a hymnal from the cart. We put the words up on the screen, but some people like to have the hymnals in front of them, so please feel free to grab those if you want to. Words are up there, Adam? I'm going to read the plain text, and you'll read the italicized text. This is generation to generation. In a house which becomes a home, one hands down and another takes up the heritage of mind and heart, laughter and tears, musings and deeds. Therefore, we do not neglect the ceremonies of our passage when we wed, when we die, and when we are blessed with a child. Let us bring up our children. It is not the place of some official to hand to them their heritage. Let us build up memories in our children, lest they drag out joyless lives, lest they allow treasures to be lost because they have not been given the keys. We live not by things, but by the means of things. It is needful to transmit the passwords from generation to generation. Welcome to worship.
Gaudeamus, 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 Hodie. Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus, Hodie. Gaudeamus, 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 Hodie. Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus, Hodie. Gaudeamus, Hodie, Hodie.
Good stuff. Good stuff. The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. This land was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, and then was sold to white settlers. After decades of violent encroachment by the French, British, and then U.S. American settlers, the Potawatomi community had no choice but to sell before they were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. The Chicagoland area is now home to one of the largest and most diverse urban Native communities in the U.S. Our faith calls us to name these realities with honor and respect as one small effort toward finding greater accountability, deeper relationship, and mutuality with contemporary Indigenous communities. For the land which we use as sacred space, for the animals and plants that have been sustained by this land, and for our ancestors and descendants who are and will become part of the earth. As Wendy, Daria, and Ava Drake light our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying these words by Rabindranath Tagore. Sorry, it's just Daria and Wendy. Yeah. Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark. Thank you. Please rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Before our hymn, please turn to someone sitting near you and say hello, good morning, hopefully someone you don't know well. And if you're at home, please offer your greetings in the chat if you haven't done so already. Our hymn, and you may remain uplifted to sing, is number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Your ears to the song, open your I love that one. Get you moving, first thing in the morning. Yay, welcome everyone. We have had a challenging couple of years, have we not? Yeah. And yet, we have been able to reimagine what we want our faith community to be, to look, act, and feel like, to all who enter our doors. With the guidance last year of the Faith Formation Force, we learned that we wanted all ages and stages of life to have an active part in our community, to be complete citizens in our congregation. This year, we have bravely been putting a new layer on the foundation that has kept this community firmly rooted to the earth and to our Unitarian Universalist principles and sources. Today, we celebrate some of the ways we have kept our connection to this strong foundation and built upon it. Enjoy this short video of some of the many ways we have bonded and cemented our foundation despite the challenges we faced.
We've had so many great moments this year, haven't we? Seriously. Okay, I'm reading this story from Olivia Bear because she can't be here and we miss her, and I'm not going to do it justice because this is her story. Just want to make that clear. So I'm going to be speaking in her, doing my best to speak in her voice. This congregation recognizes the power of a multi-generational community and the difficulties that come with providing support for all, the young, the old, the in-between. To actually make a space for all ages takes a huge amount of empathy, patience, work that never has an end point. When I heard that you were talking about multi-generationality today, and I couldn't help but think about my grandparents. Growing up, I was lucky to have been raised in a 3-generation household with my maternal grandparents. And I didn't realize how much of a gift this was until I got older, until I realized that most of my friends only had their parents, and only one parent sometimes. Living all together in one house was almost as difficult as it was a blessing. With all those perspectives floating around, they were bound to clash at some point. But I'm not here to tell you about that. I'm here to tell you about the broccoli rabe and pasta recipes that I learned as my grandma's helper and still make today. About the potted plants I have scattered around my apartment because of all the hours I spent in my grandma's garden. I'm here to tell you about how clear it is when I sit down to think about it that my community shows up in me in my everyday life. And I admit I'm not always in the mood to recreate grandma's pasta. I've settled for the taste of Italy that comes in a few cheap cans of microwaved tomato sauce. But sometimes that's good enough. And right now, my houseplants are living on a prayer. I wouldn't be able to treat a garden this way. I just remember that every sip of water keeps those plants alive. And before I know it, I'm picking fresh tomatoes out at the market for a good, classic homemade sauce that my grandma would taste and say, good sauce. Because she was a pretty vocal eater. I am too. Before I know it, I'm repotting a plant that I've had for 5 years now. My small choices add up. My present exists in the way it does now because of how I remember and honor them with every step that I take, no matter how imperfect. A piece of ancient indigenous philosophy that I learned while attending an Earth Day event at my school says that a sure way to know if your decisions are rooted in love for the community and the earth is to ask yourself, would this decision benefit my descendants 7 generations from now? This is the Iroquois 7 generations rule. And 7 generations is about 500 years into the future. Of course, we can't know if this congregation will be a loving, tolerant, accepting, action-oriented space in 7 generations. Who knows if this building will stand here as it does, and chairs will be lined up where you're sitting. You just have to do these things today as best you can and trust that you will again tomorrow. Ricardo Morales, an activist and artist who spoke at the Earth Day event I attended, said something that made me cry. Something along the lines of, in my mind's eye, I see a community that I'm a part of. It doesn't exist yet, but it is in the future. This community is made up of our descendants, and they are thanking us as their ancestors for doing the work that needed to be done now. I've thought a lot about my ancestors, but not so much about my descendants. I think a lot about how my life is a collaged glass window made of different pieces of the people who came before me. I don't think a lot about how my life will become a piece in that window for someone else down the line. A big reason my grandpa kept that garden was so that we could play in it. A big reason my grandma took her time in the kitchen was so that I could learn to make the food her mother taught her. In Ricardo's words, it becomes so clear to me that building a community for yourself can be the result of first building one for them, the young, the old, the past, and the yet to come. They are all members of your community too. And by nature of building one for them, you've already built one for yourself. And like I said at the beginning, a crowded house sometimes gets noisy, filled with frustrations and misunderstandings, but a crowded house also holds so much love. And I won't forget it. Thank you, Olivia, for that lovely story. Let's give Olivia, maybe she's watching at home, let's give her a hand. I hope I did that well for you. Each Sunday, we hold space for the joys and sorrows of those gathered here, honoring the struggles and the triumphs, the brokenness and wholeness that is woven into the human experience. If you have a joy or a sorrow, Gabriel and Rory, I'm going to ask you to hold just a minute because I'm going to read the joys and sorrows first, although you can keep the candles lit if you want. I just don't want them to burn down. Okay. If you have a joy or sorrow that you would like spoken aloud, you can enter it into this book, which is found at the back table. You can put it into the Google form found on our homepage. You can send me an email, or you can enter it into the chat if you're live streaming this morning. I want to give a sort of preemptive apology that sometimes it's hard for me to get to the ones in the chat in time, so I sometimes miss those, and I apologize for that. But please enter them, and we will load them into the future joys and sorrows that are listed in our through Realm. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared with us today. Sorry, a few different. Gretchen Brewster and her pup Ivy returned to Evanston filled with joy after a whirlwind trip throughout parts of Florida, visiting with old friends, many new acquaintances, and lots of loving relatives, including her sister-in-law, Seaton, who is struggling mightily with carcinoid cancer. Please send her love and strength. From Doug Erickson, Happy May Day started here in Chicago through the labor movement and celebrated throughout the world. May justice, equity, and compassion in human relations prevail. Yes, May Day. Enormous joy and gratitude for Tori Bassani and the beautiful quilt she made for my granddaughter-to-be, thanks to the UCE auction. I'm not sure who wrote that. Oh, Carolyn Laughlin wrote that. Okay, great. And happy birthday, Greg Grabowski. Amy Grabowski. Oh, yep, happy birthday. Greg, where are you? Happy birthday. And Amy Grabowski is celebrating the news that Sugar, their dog, is officially heartworm negative. Yay! Yay, Sugar. From Cindy Schauper, please send thoughts and prayers to my nephew Ben, who has just gotten out of the hospital. His heart and kidneys need strength. Sally Egger shares that friend of UCE, Christy Pinkowski, lost her father this week. We hold you and Sandy in our thoughts and prayers, Christy. Cards are welcome to them. From Elaine Siegel, please keep Janet Lipner in your thoughts as she undergoes surgery tomorrow morning. From Sue Yoakum, joy for having an interview on Monday for a prospective assistant manager, and a concern for a friend's father who has had rapid and severe memory decline. From Laura Etchen, thinking of you and sending healing love to Joe and Harry Jones as they cope with Joe's recent lung cancer diagnosis. What a joy to see our young families joining in singing the wonderful round Gaudeamus, Hodie from Jolyn Cotton. Let's just share that. This is a sacred space for our tender offerings, and we know that there are many joys and sorrows that are on your hearts that may be too tender to say aloud. So we invite you to come forward now and light a candle to recognize what's on your heart today. Please come forward. Thank you. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of love, beautiful mystery. We share our joys for all that is life-affirming around us and within us. The bird's nest, the songs and calls of non-human animals, the colorful flowers that are popping up all over, the nourishing rains and resilient earth which sustains us, the love and fun of family and friends. We express our gratitude so that it may grow and expand. We lift up our questions of wonder and curiosity. How are we called to be in the world? How can we make the world more beautiful and whole today? How can we be brave in speaking and acting for justice and equity? Guide us, O love, in living the answers. We build trust among this beloved community in unburdening our hearts. We share our deep sorrows and our fears for the many ways people are hurting around the world, in our community, in our homes, and right here among those gathered. May all who are suffering everywhere find peace and ease. We hold especially close those suffering through the horrors of war in Ukraine, in Syria, in Afghanistan, and every place that knows violence and terror. We hold those who are captive in prisons, the millions in the United States and those in Illinois who are caged and criminalized for profit. May these systems of injustice crumble and fall. We hold all those who are struggling with illness, with the challenges of aging, and all those who have not lived their full lives. We hold all who are feeling the pain of loss. May they know comfort. Transforming power of love, work through our bodies and our minds to heal the planet and all beings, including ourselves, so that we can carry forward more joy, more beauty, creativity, and possibility into this waiting world. May it be so. As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with UUPMI, the Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry of Illinois. Here to talk about this partner organization is my dear colleague, Allison Farnham, who is the Executive Director of UUPMI.
Thank you, Reverend Eileen, and thank you so much. It is so wonderful to be here with you this morning. This congregation has been so necessary to the work of the Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry of Illinois, from not only your financial investment in our organization, but commitment to the work that we do. We need you, so thank you so much. At the Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry of Illinois, our mission is to equip Unitarian Universalists across Illinois to help transform institutions and support people by the prison industrial complex. And we do that in a number of ways. And one of the many ways is through a very robust pen pal program. Any of you pen pals out there, prison pen pals? You can raise your hands. Yes, I see some. Thank you, thank you. So I wanted to share with you some words from one of our inside pen pals. That's someone who's in prison at Illinois River, giving thanks for gifts that we give twice a year that go into our pen pals commissary accounts to help them purchase needed hygiene supplies, extra nutrition, because the food that is served is not sufficient for most human beings to survive on. So this is from Jesse, and I share it with permission. Jesse says, "Thank you so very much to those that contributed their hard-earned money so that those of us stuck in here can have a little extra. I want to thank the people behind the scenes who make all this happen, from the gifts to the Pen Pal program. Every one of y'all are so loving and caring and generous. I'm familiar with most types of religions, and I have never seen any do all the things that these beautiful UU people do for us. It brings joy and warmth to my heart that I was shown the light by the UU community. There are many people that need help out there, so those of us in here always expect that the money would be spent on them, but not the wonderful people of UU. We are continually shown that we still matter, that we are still cared about, that we are still loved, and that we are not an afterthought, and that we will never be forgotten. I have never been more proud and honored to be part of a religious community. Your contributions help build community. So I appreciate your generosity to our organization, and I'm going to be sticking around if you want to talk more about how to get involved in the Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry of Illinois.
If you're joining us from home or in the building, you may text to give, mail in a check, or give from our website. If you do write a check, please indicate in the memo line if you would like your check to be for the shared offering, your pledge, capital campaign, or some other giving. And if you're here in the building, we're gonna return to our practice of passing the collection bowls in the format that we used to, so we don't have to raise your hand anymore. The bowl will come to you, and please give generously, and may what you give bring you joy.
Wonderful as always. I invite Rory Presto and Gabriel McNabb up to the front. Come on, don't be shy. As well as our young adult representatives, Brennan and Bree. As we celebrate our braveness this past year, we also celebrate our high school seniors who have been a part of our foundation along the way. We call this rite of passage from adolescence to young adulthood bridging. The idea is that one end of the figurative bridge is in childhood and the other in young adulthood. It is a tradition here at UCE to give a rose without thorns to babies and young children as part of the child dedication ceremony. It is a symbol of beauty and purity, and thornless, it recognizes that we, all of us, are the child's protectors in partnership with the parent or parents. It demonstrates our wish to make life as free of hurt as possible. And when our children reach the threshold of adulthood, we give them a rose with thorns in recognition that we can't always protect them from the hurts in life. It is through these experiences, along with those joys, that they will continue to grow in their faith. Today, we celebrate Rory Presto and Gabriel McNabb as they cross the bridge into adulthood. Both of them grew up here at UCE and will be attending the University of Illinois. Woo-hoo. Rory will be majoring in civil and environmental engineering and credits her participation in the Harms Woods Restoration Project with some of you here at UCE as part of their inspiration to study sustainability. And Gabriel will be seeking a degree in Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting. Woohoo! Please join me in saying these words on the screen as Rory and Gabriel cross our bridge and into adulthood with our young adults. May you carry the light of faith within your heart now and always. We greet you with open arms as you cross this bridge. We pledge to be here when you need us and to welcome you back at future crossings. Yay.
Your G string and E string are both not in G. Okay, just keep going. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It always makes me cry. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Well, way back in March, it seems like a long time ago for me, Reverend Eileen preached about faith and helped us to unpack it by defining it as the practice of putting our trust or confidence in something. She went further to say that faith formation is a lifelong endeavor to think about what is worthy of our trust and confidence, and to think of faith as an active word. If we think of it as an action, then how is it that we actually do it, engage in it? If you're thinking faith formation, you're right. Back in October, we bravely began a new way of doing Sunday mornings, and we created the Faith Formation Hour. We wanted opportunities for people across generations to do together, to form relationships and connections that were either lost during the pandemic or non-existing to begin with. We heard from families that Sundays were precious to them and that they wanted to be together. Older members shared that they enjoyed seeing, hearing, and being with younger children, and they wanted to share their knowledge with our youth, young adults, and parents. Our vision for the Faith Formation Hour was to give people of all ages a variety of ways to learn and grow together in their UU identity through spiritual practices, the arts, anti-racism, and oppression work, and social action. We wanted opportunities that allowed for people to be engaged together, whether with their peer group or across generations. There's an expression that faith is caught, not taught, meaning that people, especially children, learn from our actions rather than our words. While there is some truth to this, it also suggests a more passive approach, that we adults don't have as much responsibility for teaching our UU faith to our young people. That as long as we act out our beliefs and our values, our children and youth will turn into upstanding, wonderful UU young adults, as if through osmosis. In reality, we know that teaching our UU values and faith is just as important as living them out. Back in 2017, I attended a webinar through the UUA that was facilitated by some of my well-known colleagues in religious education. And this webinar not only changed the way I looked in religious education and the role of it for me personally, but the role within the congregation. This webinar changed me in a lot of ways. And the one person that led it, Joy Berry, at the time was a religious educator at the UU Church in Asheville, North Carolina. And at this webinar, she spoke about her experience in transforming her congregation's perspective toward what she called integrated faith development. I'm not going to get into all the theology behind this. We don't have that much time. So in a nutshell, she had a series of conversations within the congregation and basically about James Fowler's stages of faith, which you may have heard of. And these corresponded to stages of development in children and youth and adulthood. She created this wonderful graphic to demonstrate and illustrate this. If you look above the gold arrow, you'll see Fowler's stages of growth or faith put into one word each to show that faith is caught, taught, bought, and sought. I already mentioned the first two, so I thought I'd expand a little bit on the others. Faith is bought, refers to adolescence when youth resist authority, go figure, and question everything. They form their beliefs as individuals, although it is still usually the faith of their family. Friends and peer groups are influential, and so our task is to challenge them in their critical thinking and to guide them towards buying into their faith. Next is faith is sought, which correlates to young adulthood and a time when people experience the kind of dissonance that comes from the questions of faith that they start to explore and their assumptions about their faith. Oftentimes, this results in leaving their religious community if the answers to their questions are not to their liking. And so their search for a faith community continues. Ms. Beery kind of stops at this stage, saying that most of our congregations kind of get stuck here. Fowler has two more stages. And he says that it's harder for people to move beyond this stage 4, and 6 is being a very rare occurrence. And so as we look at Joy's wonderful graphic, we focus on what is below the gold arrow. And here is where things get a little more interesting. Faith is not just caught, taught, bought, or sought, it is wrought. It is something we create together, actively. It is collaborative. From it takes a village thinking to it makes a village thinking. It is done throughout the lifespan at all ages and stages. From thinking of religious education as teaching youngsters to learning from and with each other, from transactional to transformative. So how do we exactly form our Unitarian Universalist faith? Where and when does this happen? Sunday mornings, obviously, are a prime time for faith formation, and right now, you are all participating. As you listen to words and music, as you look at the videos and people around you and the nature outside these beautiful windows, you are indeed building on the foundation of your faith. You are adding to what you know and believe. You are in community with others of like minds and spirits. Everything you saw in the video earlier this morning was faith formation. Singing hymns, dancing, studying plants, learning about fair trade, making art, connecting to our UU principles and sources, celebrating holidays, traditions, and life events, creating and experiencing meaningful worship, even building a tower out of dry spaghetti, some of you might remember. They had to do that while staying in covenant. Yeah. And faith formation is done from the day we are born until the day we die. Knowing that everything we do here together is building upon our faith foundation, how do we continue with our construction so that it enables all of us to live the best lives we can and help create a world made whole? What can we provide and offer each other? What do we want our faith community to look like and feel like? What do we want to be doing within our walls and beyond? You may be familiar with a line from the movie A Field of Dreams, where they whisper, "If you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come." So, we're going to do some dream building. Are you ready? That didn't sound too confident. I'm going to invite you to reflect for a minute or two on what faith formation means to you here at UCE. And while our lovely pianist Gregory plays a little background music, give it some thought to two questions, which should be on the screen. They're coming. First one, what do we need to add to our foundation to make UCE a place for all to grow in their UU faith? And what can you do to help build this? So, as you came in, you were hopefully given a bag. If not, raise your hand and my lovely assistants will pass you one. So raise your hand up high. It's okay, you can make noise. And move around, you know, this is an all ages worship. And inside your bag, you'll find a block and a marker. And just write in a couple words, what do we need to do to add to our foundation on one side? And on another side of your block, what can you do individually to help build this? I'm going to invite you to do some building. And if you have your block ready, to bring it up to this table on my right, and just build whatever we feel like building. And if you can, have your block so that we can read some of what was written on it. And if we need a few more minutes to write, that's okay. Gregory will play a couple more minutes. So I invite you to come build with me. Don't be shy. your bags and stuff at your chair when you're done. And those of you at home, if you want to put in chat what you would like to contribute, we'll write them on blocks here. And since we're getting close to our closing time, we will end as we finish building. And Gregory, thank you, Gregory. Yes, we're trying to honor our time here. Feel free to keep building. I can't wait to see the final outcome. And after this is all done and built, by all means, come take pictures and look at it yourselves. This is our masterpiece and our tangible way of saying what we wish to build in the coming year. And after worship, Reverend Eileen will be running a listening circle right here in the sanctuaries to talk about what we can build in the future. And I will invite Wendy and Daria to extinguish our chalice. As we extinguish our chalice, please join in saying these words. Though the flame is extinguished, we carry with us the warmth of community, the light of truth, and the fire of commitment until we are together again. Amen. Blessed be. Our hymn is We Are Building a New Way. Feel free to rise in body or spirit, clap, dance, whatever.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love that is a seed. We are feeding our every need.
All right, look at this wonderful creation. Woohoo! May we continue in our braveness to forge ahead and build on our dreams. May we honor our past and the foundation that has been laid while creating a future that welcomes and embraces all. And may we create a faith community that is taught, caught, bought, sought, and wrought for generations to come. Amen. Blessed be.